Oh God. Thor Love and Thunder was released a couple weeks ago in July 2022, directed by Taika Waititi, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Natalie Portman, Christian Bale, and Taika Waititi. And I was actually really interested to see this movie. I really liked Ragnarok. I don't care what people say about it. I still think it's probably the best Thor movie. But this one, let's just jump into it. Starting off with the good, and there's a bit that I liked here. First of all, I still like Chris Hemsworth as Thor. To this day, he still remains a perfect casting as the God of Thunder. And while I do have some issues with his portrayal in this movie, I will get to that later. I do think that he does a good job. It's not my favorite portrayal of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, but it's still a really good portrayal, and I just really like how he plays the character in this movie. I also really love Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor in this movie. I actually am one of the few people who liked Jane Foster in the first two Thor movies. So seeing her here as Thor, as Mighty Thor in this movie, was really great, and I thought she did a great job. Her chemistry with Chris Hemsworth was amazing. I really love the story they put this character through in the movie. It's actually quite a tragic story at its core, because if you pay attention to Marvel Comics, Jane Foster becomes Thor because she has cancer. And she does have cancer in this movie as well. And I'll get to some of how that was handled once again later. But I really liked her story in this movie. I thought it was really good. It was definitely a touchy subject for me, but I still really enjoyed it. Korg in this movie is Korg. He's not any different than he was in Ragnarok. He's still funny. I still enjoyed him. And he's probably the only character that doesn't grate on my nerves in some scenes, but that's just because it's Korg. I like Korg. I liked him in Ragnarok. I liked him here. I thought he had some really funny moments, especially with Thor. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is nowhere near as good in this movie as she was in Ragnarok, but she still does a good job. I still really like Valkyrie. I still like Tessa Thompson. I would love to see her again in her own solo movie or something, because, like, she was good in this movie, but just wasn't given a whole bunch to do. But the best performance in this movie is easily Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Absolutely terrific. Christian Bale is one of the best actors in Hollywood today, and he absolutely kills it in just about every role I see him in, whether it's the Dark Knight trilogy, whether it's that Dick Cheney movie from 2018, or this movie. He's absolutely terrific in everything that he's in, and I just really love Gore the God Butcher. He's one of my favorite MCU villains now because of Christian Bale's performance. And I thought that he had a really compelling story and a really understandable motive for why he's just going around killing all these gods. I just really loved him. I just really love Christian Bale in this movie. Outside of the performances, I did enjoy the soundtrack to this movie. Yes, it was a little heavy-handed on the Guns N' Roses. It plays literally all four of their hits from their one album. But I did like the songs in the movie. The score was also really good aside from the soundtrack. And some of the humor works. I do like some of the humor in this movie, which I will get to again later on down the road in this video. But for now, some of the humor works. And also, this is a very beautifully shot movie. I really, really love the way this movie looks. It's very gorgeous with all the color within it. And the fight in the Shadow Realm between Thor, Valkyrie, and Jane with Gore, absolutely terrific. Everything's in black and white, but sometimes something will light up and show some color. I really love that whole sequence. I thought that sequence was a lot of fun. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on from the good and starting in with the bad. and there's still a lot of problems I have with this movie. First of all, the way Thor is handled, I liked Chris Hemsworth's performance just fine, it's good. But the way the character is handled is honestly not good. Because this is not the Thor we were left off with in Endgame. Because from the first Thor movie to Endgame, Thor is mainly learning how to care for humanity, how to be a better hero, and how to take responsibility for his actions. And then in this movie, all of that is basically erased, and he's just a giant doofus who's going around destroying things in battle, riding Stormbreaker like a witch's broom. That did not vibe with me whatsoever. I don't know why. Whatever. And then on with the humor, I did not like a lot of the humor in this movie. Like I said, I liked some of it, but a lot of it did not sit well with me. There are multiple scenes that start out as somewhat serious and they just turn it into a giant joke. There are multiple jokes that show up in this movie that these jokes, they just keep hammering them in when they were barely funny the first time. There's these screaming goats that are appearing multiple times throughout the movie and they grate on my nerves a lot. And then you have Gore the God Butcher, who is great, like I said, but Taika Waititi cut most of his scenes to make room for a love triangle between Thor, Mjolnir, and Stormbreaker. No, that was horrible. It wasn't funny the first time. Why would I think it was funny every other time it was brought up in the movie? And then something that I really have to get off my chest, and that is the portrayal of Zeus in this movie by Russell Crowe. I like Russell Crowe as an actor, and I thought that he was having fun with the role, and that's always a plus. And I'm glad that they made Zeus a villain. That's probably a spoiler, but I don't care. They made him a villain, and I'm glad, because in Greek mythology, Zeus is really a horrible person, and he deserves to be treated as a villain. But they made him far too goofy in this movie. It was really kind of embarrassing how goofy they made Zeus in this movie, and I just wasn't a fan of that. And again, with the humor that I forgot to mention earlier, with Jane Foster, she has cancer, and they actually make a couple cancer jokes in this movie that doesn't sit well with me whatsoever. No, thank you. Don't give me any more cancer jokes. But in conclusion, I actually did not hate this movie as much as a lot of other people did. I had fun with it, aside from the humor being a little too heavy-handed in multiple parts of this movie. I did have fun, and that's what counts. Thor: Love and Thunder is not a perfect movie, but it's a fun movie, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. Have you seen this movie? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments if you have seen it. If you have not seen it, what's your favorite Thor movie so far? What's your favorite Chris Hemsworth movie? What's your favorite Marvel movie overall? As always, let me know down in the comments on that. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.